Welcome to the Men After God podcast, where you will be challenged and encouraged as you pursue God, achieve success, and raise a thriving family. Join your host, Dustin, and his guests on a weekly journey to grow as husbands, fathers, and men after God. Here is your host, Dustin Alley.
Hey guys, welcome back to another week of the Men After God podcast. I'm excited for our conversation today, where we are going to be going from chapter 4 in my book, Becoming a Man After God. We talked last week about part of this, ended off with the intentional man, a man who is intentional about his schedule. He's proactive about the things that he does. And I don't know if you listened or not, but I recorded some extra content that went out Thursday. Kind of something new I'm trying, just talking about Bible, body, business is kind of my thought there. I want to be able to share with you the things I've learned, the things I'm kind of passionate about learning, and hoping that it'll be a help to you in either better understanding the Bible and walking with God and living it, or building a business maybe, or applying biblical principles. And most importantly, lessons learned. I've learned so much, and it's not because I'm successful. It's because I failed, and I want to share those with you so you don't have to go through it. And then I have a hobbyist in endeavor, I guess, to learn more about the intersection of neuroscience, biology, Bible, and a number of different things there. So be sure to check that out. But today, we're going to continue this conversation from chapter 4 in the book. And we're going to go from the intentional man who sets his schedule, who takes care of things proactively, into a conversation around the relational man. Now, Luke's going to do this interview style. We're going to go back and forth because we have found that to be the most effective way for us to communicate this. And what we see based on downloads and what I'm thinking from feedback is what you like the most. So we're going to start off with the relational man. In today's world, you are so distracted from every relationship around you and you don't even know it. And it's that distraction that's keeping you from being able to actually be present and enjoy the relationships that God has given you. So our conversation today around the relational man is about you having a life that makes the relationships in your life a priority. So Luke, let's take it away. What do you got for me today, man?
Well, I want to just say, as much as he might be excited about the content, I'm sure the content's going to be great. I'm just excited to be on the podcast in general. I feel every time we start recording, I'm like, oh, this is going to be exciting. And then I'm like, what are we talking about today? I like catch my notes. I should probably listen better as we go into this. I do want to talk about listening, because I do think that's listening itself is not a crutch. I think talking is a crutch for some, or not talking, but not listening is not the same as not talking. So we do this thing like either we talk a lot, as I'm doing right now, or we don't talk, but just not talking and talking. That's not communication. There's this facet of listening. And so, in the chapter, you talk about this concept of you admit that listening's been tough, like it's tough homework, right? What specific practices helped you grow in that area that you've encouraged us in the book, but also more than from what the book says?
Yeah, sure. Of course. Yeah, no, active listening is a principle that I heard about, and then I had to hear again because I didn't hear it the first time. And yes, I meant
because
that
he wasn't active listening.
Exactly. And so but no, seriously, guys, active listening is something you hear it talked about in therapy, and like, oh, they had to do this, they had to say it back to them, and the way it's portrayed in movies, Luke, it can be so corny, right? Like you just look at the person like, okay, you said this. Right? No, guys, listen. First off, our buddy Adrian, who I can't wait, he's got an amazing series he's been recording. I had him like bulk load some videos because he's pastoring and stuff now. And he's got some amazing content of going through the Bible from Genesis on. I can't wait to start putting that out to you guys. But he hates when I do this. But I do it because it helps me know, or helps me reiterate what I heard in the event that I'm wrong, but it also makes sure that I'm listening because I have to say it, right? So if you have a conversation with me about an idea or a plan or something we're doing, or even just a concept, you might hear me say something like, okay, what I heard you saying was, and I'm going to follow up with what I heard you saying. See, when I first heard about active listening, it was more of like, okay, stare intently, pick an eye, don't move. Okay, just listen. And then when they ask you, like, okay, do you agree? You're like, yeah, wait, what am I agreeing to? So it was more than just being deadlocked and not looking at the phone or everything else happening around you. It was actually receiving what is being said. And now here's my still struggle with this: receiving what is being said without trying to just respond to what was being said, but to actually hear what was being said.
Mm.
And that's where bringing it back to, practically speaking, if I can say to someone, okay, what I heard you say was this, is that what you meant? Then they can clarify for me more, and then I can respond to what was actually said. And in the event, again, I got it wrong or something, but it was tough for me because I talk a lot and I'm distracted. If we're in a room and there's a bunch of stuff going on, it takes every ounce of discipline in my body to just give you my attention. And people look at me and have accused me of like, it's well, I'm not important to you. You're so important to me. I put in the effort to try to block everything else out. I'm not successful at it all the time. And maybe you're not either, but that's why it was so hard for me. We could blame the ADHD and all this other stuff.
Right.
It's ultimately just when there's a lot going on around me, it's hard for me to focus. I don't know, most guys are like that. Most people are like that, right?
Yeah.
So, guys, when it comes to active listening, repeat back what's said to you. And let it be. And I promise you, I had, I work with teenagers right now in a school, and I had a parent come up to me and she told me her daughter who had shared some things in class. She's a senior. We're in a life skills class. We're talking about life, and she'd shared some things, and I engaged in conversation with her, and I utilized this. And she told me, she said that her daughter told her, that she was so thankful that I was her teacher because I was real, because I listened, and because I would actually address them like adults. And again,
Hmm.
they're 18, they're close enough. And so, but how? And it was the active listening piece, because she
Right.
said more than I did. And that's a whole other conversation. If you're single trying to pick up ladies, ask more questions than you make statements, guys. And they're going to appreciate being around you more than you tell them about how much you can bench press or how many times you beat Pokemon Red, which came out like 30 years ago, 2 days ago. Just saying, we should celebrate.
There is so much that just got said. I do not have time to deal with the Pokemon comments, so we're moving on from there. But I do want to say there's a quote, and I forget who says it. This would be more improv. It's not really in our notes. There's not many notes. If you haven't picked up, we're not really going the whole scripted note thing. Most of the time,
Yeah.
we're scripted. This is just me asking Dustin questions. We have the questions, and then I change them just to confuse Dustin. So it's been great.
I get prepared. I'm ready. I got a list, and then it just goes out the window.
Lose control. Okay. But there's a quote that says this, people may not remember what you did or what you said to them, but they will always remember how you made them feel. And when it comes to active listening, the value of literally engaging where someone is at their level. So, with your children or with other people's children, even when you're having a conversation, the moment you go down to their level and actually ask them a few questions, it takes about 3 questions to get my boys talking about something they want to talk about. And it doesn't take that much, but they feel like, wow, this person's the coolest person ever. Well, we don't know a thing about that person other than they ask good questions. And it's amazing how that will happen. Justin just referred to that when he was like, hey, this person, I didn't actually say that much. I just asked questions and prompted, and literally this young lady in a school setting was able to open up and feel seen and heard and valued and validated because Dustin listened and asked questions. So I want to say this, when our meetings, when you have Brother Adrian together and Dustin says this, so what I heard you say was, Adrian goes nuts. It's great. Every time he says it though, I hear this movie line of what happened was, and that is my go-to, like, like, okay. We're gonna
awesome.
Yeah, we're gonna keep talking here. I'm going to move down because we are going to try to keep this short. We've made a commitment to try to keep this from anywhere from 15 to 2 15
And I
minutes
think
to 2
we've
hours.
hit it once. So
yeah, and it was like an intro to season 2. Yeah, so anywhere from 15 minutes to 2 hours works for us. Yeah. Here's a question: what does a healthy male fellowship look like when a man has little time, feels awkward, and or has been burned by relationships? Like, what does that look like from the perspective of, hey, I don't got time for surface conversations, and I don't really want to go deep because I've been burned by going deep in a fellowship with other men.
Yeah. So first off, we all hate small talk. I've never heard someone who come up to me and says, you know what I really love doing? I just love small talk. I love it when people talk to me about the weather. I love it when they share with me about their stupid weekend plans. And it's just amazing. Love small talk. Nobody says that. Nobody likes small talk because people don't know how to do small talk. The problem is we go in expecting small talk. So we begin having those surface level conversations. Now, most guys, you're not going to go in and be like, hey man, could you tell me about the deepest problems of your heart right now? And that'd be your first interaction. It's just not going to take place, right?
Yep.
But if you're a person who's trying to have healthy friendships, First off, accept this, depending upon stage of life. But I'm going to talk to the guy who's in his 30s, got kids in school, playing sports, and going to church and trying to make something of himself. You're busy, and so is everyone else.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be able to hang out like you did 10 years ago when you're in your 20s. All right. It's not going to take place for a few reasons. Number one, if you're up until 10:30, 11 o'clock and have to get up at 4, you're going to be tired and exhausted the next day. You can't do that anymore, man. Just stop. Okay. It's okay to go to bed at 9. It's okay to hang out with friends at 4 o'clock in the afternoon until 7. Yes, yes, I'm that old. Okay. But here's what's important. Understanding that the relationship you have with a guy, it'll be surface level if you make it surface level. And
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be. Ask some good questions, just like we were talking about a minute ago. You could ask about the weekend, but then just, I mean, it doesn't take much. Hey, what'd you do this weekend? Oh man, I went fishing. Oh, really? Okay. Is fishing something that you've done growing up? Like, I'm about to hear a conversation about his father. I'm about to hear like how he got into that, and I'm about to learn something about this person, right? And then I can share. And again, there's this fantastic conversation about out there. If someone shares something with you, do or don't. That's the argument. Share something similar. Some people do it as a way of relating, right? If someone says,
Right.
"Yeah, I went fishing as a kid and I loved it. I thought it was great." Oh man, I went fishing as a kid and thought it was terrible. Like, okay, how you share something's important. Let's not make it all about you.
Yeah.
But feel free to relate and go back and forth, but always go back to a question. And then for the deeper relationships, accept it. You're only going to have a few of those, and you may only have one of those. And sometimes it may not even be someone near you, just depending upon
Right.
circumstances. And guys, I can go into a story of, Luke, and the question was talking about being burned by friendships and stuff. I had my first instance of being truly burned and betrayed within the last couple years, and it hurt, and it really makes you want to close up, get angry.
Yeah.
And I think I'm on the other end of it, but I've definitely not come out to the victory side, right? I'm probably like the finish line's right there as I'm working at just developing relationships again because my entire circle got blew up in a sense. But what I do have is some great friends that aren't near me. Adrian, Luke, I've got others that if I call, like, we can go into a deep conversation within 30 seconds. Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to have a few of those, not a lot. And that's okay. My son told me the other day, he's like, Mom, or he was talking to his mom and I and said, Mom, you guys want to leave church early on Wednesday nights because y'all don't have friends. I want to leave church early on Wednesday nights because it ends at 8 o'clock. Their bedtime's 9 and we get up at 4 a.m. And if we don't and it's a 20+ minute drive for us. So when it ends, like, we're ready, like, okay, time to go. But there was something to that. He doesn't see me interact with my friends the way he interacts with his friends. And that's again because
Right.
it's changed over the lifetime. So my recommendation, just go talk to guys, go hang out. If you're an introvert, I honestly, someone else is going to have to tell you how to do that because I can't relate, and it's hard for me to even imagine being introverted that way. Um, but if you're an extrovert, bring the introverts into the conversation, invite them to it, right? And just go talk, go meet people, ask
Uh-huh.
questions, and be more interested in the person you're talking to than you want them to be interested in you. Because if you make it just about you, you're selfish, and that's not how we're called to live by God. It's about making it about others. And when you make your life about others, you will find that you're surrounded by great friends. Are there going to be some fake ones?
Yeah.
Absolutely. But there's going to be some amazing
Well,
ones too.
and I'll say this, man, this so good, and I'll say this, two things. One is sometimes there are fake friends, like there's phony friends because they're not a true friend. That happens, but a lot of times it's just because there's no depth of friendship. It doesn't mean it's not a bad person you're talking to. There's just no depth there. And I will say this from the perspective of every man that I've coached and counseled, people are craving a deeper friendship. Now, they're only going to get the deepest friendship with Jesus Christ. There's a friend that sticketh closer than a brother. But I do want to just touch on this. Sometimes, as I'm meeting new people, and you do meet the introvert, you need to be aware that, I'm a social person. I actually, I come across as an extrovert, and most people think I'm an extrovert. To be honest, I am both, the ambivert, or whatever you call it, because I there are parts of me that will be flourishing and fulfilling as in my extrovert at part, but I refuel with my one person. If you refuel with close friendships or with my wife, that's where I'm going to refuel myself. Understand, an extrovert is not going to refuel or be fulfilled socially. They need it, but that's not what fills their bucket. So when they're done, they need to go take a break for a couple hours and disconnect for 3 weeks. So that's your introvert friends. So just be mindful. They're not going to fill their bucket with you, but it does fill their spiritual and mental needs when it comes to friendship. So just be aware of that. And if you know an introvert, go adopt them, drag them along. They don't want to go, but they will go because they know they should, all this stuff. But I want to say this. I was thinking about this as Dustin was talking a minute ago. A lot of us have these things in our life that if you ask better questions, you'll get better answers. And one of my favorite questions is, hey, what's heavy? When I get to a place with an individual, that's not a first question of anybody most of the time. There are times I've asked that because I can just tell, and then I get the barrage, like someone needed to talk. That happens. And by the way, there are people in your life that need to talk. And if
Yeah.
you don't ask the question, they'll never talk. They'll barely talk to Jesus about it. But if they'll talk to you, you can send them to Jesus about it, and you can take them to Jesus about it. Be that kind of a friend. But being able to ask better questions, I was thinking about this. Dustin's got a game when it comes to like the Men After God game, all that stuff. The reason it works is because it asks good questions. It gets conversation going. And one of the things I was thinking, Dustin, Dustin's one of my close friends. He's one of my what I call my mud puddle friends. I can call Dustin about what I've got going on. And I can tell him, Dustin, I don't need answers. I just need to talk this out. And he'll sit in the mud puddle with me. He doesn't try to pull me out of the mud puddle. He doesn't try to clean me off. He doesn't tell me the mud puddle's the wrong place, but he just listens to me. And I need that. I have very few of those friends. I have a lot of friends that I'm a friend of 1,000, but when it comes to middle of the night mud puddle friends, there might be 3. And if you ask me who those 3 are right now, I could name 2 of them. Right? So it's okay to not, you don't need to have a ton of friends, but if a man's going to have friends, he must show himself friendly. Friendly doesn't mean that you're constantly bothering people, but it does mean that you're trying to intentionally you're trying to be the friend that you want someone to be to you. And what I have found is every time I try to be that friend, eventually that relationship deepens if I allow it to. One of the questions I was thinking, man, I wish that as I was developing new relationships, even now, that people would ask this question to me because I want to ask it of them. What's something about you that you wish I knew about you?
Mm.
Because no matter where you're at, there's certain things that, man, I wish you knew. And for me, there's certain things that are there. I wish you knew this about me. I wish you knew about this about my past or my experience. And it might be dependent on a relationship, but most of the time I can think about 3 things in my life. I wish you knew this about me, because if you knew this about me, it would make a lot of sense about who I am.
That's deep. That's
Don't be
good.
afraid to go ask that question of somebody else, because like, hey, we're starting to be friends, and I think you're a pretty cool guy. Like, really talk to you. Hey, what's something you wish I knew about you? What are some? Because if they reciprocate that, then great. And if they don't, you will be able to have a deep, because we learn this in sales, all things. If you're asking questions, you control the narrative or the conversation. We're not trying to control anything here, but if you're asking questions, you will be able to get that deeper relationship. Just make sure they're good questions and they're appropriate. If you can match those 2 things up, man, you'll be able to deepen your relationship with others, as well as obviously be able to help others toward Christ as you walk toward Christ.
Yeah. Man, Luke, I love that. Before we close out, I want to go this direction real quick. What about guys you're trying to be friends with that they don't want to be your friend, or they're not friends with you the way you want them to be? I've encountered people that want to be, first off, if you're in a position of leadership, if you're a pastor or someone of that nature, or even in the secular workplace, you'll find there are a lot of people that will want to be your friend.
Yeah.
Or at least be friendly with you, if you will. And then when you leave that, you'll find out who was really your friend and who was your friend because you were in that position. And listen,
Right.
don't get upset about that. Let's not like get all high and mighty of like, oh, well, they're not good people.
Yeah.
Look, that's just the way it is. Okay. And I'm sorry, because like whenever I resigned my pastorate, there are people I haven't talked to that were amazing people while I was their pastor. But that's why they're still amazing people. I'm not saying they're not, but that was our relationship. It was built
Right.
upon that foundation. When that foundation left, the relationship died. And that's okay. It doesn't make them bad people. That's just the way of the
Yeah.
world. Okay. But what about when you're being friends with somebody and they're not a friend the way you want them to be? They don't like to hang out as much as you want to be. They don't want to do this. That. This goes back to what I said earlier, being selfish. Ensure that when you are friends with someone, you're not friends with them to meet your needs.
Yeah.
You're friends with them to meet their needs. And again, this isn't all about making yourself subservient to everyone. But if you're only trying to be friends with someone so they can make you feel better, that is the byproduct of the pure
Yeah.
friendship, if you will. It is the feeling better, wanting to be around them, wanting to interact
Yeah.
and things of that nature. But if you were trying to force them to be something they're not, maybe you shouldn't be friends with them. And
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah. Man, there's so much here when it comes to friendships and the relational man. Understanding this, we are relational men. When it comes to our spouse or significant other, that is a friendship that should be deeper than surface level
Oh man,
conversations about the weather. We didn't even touch that. We probably should. To be honest, probably should be to talk about
probably be part
specific.
3.
Yeah, but I mean, but I think this is good because the men that I coach, the conversations I have most of the time where they're lacking is not like they might have that relationship and they have their spouse, but there are things that I need from me. I need to be challenged outside of my spouse. Somebody's like, well, I got my relationship with my spouse and it's good. I'm not saying that's not good. Congratulations. I'm glad you have that. But I would say that as a man, iron sharpens iron. A threefold cord is not quickly broken. Those are biblical concepts that you need to be able to embrace. Say, well, what is the iron that's sharpening me? Yes, my wife challenges me constantly, and I'm not talking about a negative way, in a very positive way. She encourages me to be a better version of me. But what I have found is that if I don't have other relationships in my life, men after God that are constantly they're pushing on me to help me do better, to pull me out of the pit, whatever you want to say, that I'm going to miss out on a great relationship that God has me that's going to glorify Him. And this goes back to the whole conversation, like, hey, what if I want to be friends with someone and they're not the kind of friendship I want to have a deeper. Get over yourself. That's not a glorifying to God relationship, because you're trying to put someone else in the place where God probably should be in your life. And to just be very, very aware of that. And I know that I'm supposed to be asking Dustin questions, but I just want to say I've been challenged by this conversation, and even this week I got a call from an individual who was they got fired from their job, and they were having a real hard time about it, and just having a conversation, and it was just something where it made me feel great that they called me. We were able to cry together and pray together, and they're going to be fine. But there's been times in my life where I've needed to make the call, and I thought, who am I going to call? And I called no one. I heard this years ago, and it was some ladies that said it, and it stuck with me. And it was a long time ago, and I'll tell this, and Dustin, you can take it away. We were doing a church thing. It's back at Greater Portland Baptist Church. I had some ladies there, and one of them was about to get married, and it was a stressful thing, because it was like she's getting married in a different country, and there's just a lot going on. And they were friends; they're good friends, and you just have these different cliques and different friendships. And I knew they were good friends, and so I'm doing something, getting ready for a conference, and the one guy was saying, "Man, I had a really rough week this week dealing with this and this and this, and I just had to cry it out, and it was just overwhelming." And I thought, wow, that's tough. And I'm an empathetic individual. And the other friend said this. She's like, well, why didn't you call me? No one should have to cry alone. And I don't know if that's a biblical principle, so don't quote me on this, but I would say this. There's been dozens of times that I've been in a place where I need to cry it out. I need to just vent it out. Whatever crying might look like. Sometimes it's tears, sometimes it's just talking, sometimes it's not talking. And so many times I've been in a place where I didn't have that person because I didn't want to bother them. But I had that person. And they would have been there if I'd asked. And I don't mind being there for my friends. When they text me, I was in the middle of something the other day, I got a text like, oh yeah, I want to make this guy have this conversation. Man, that's challenging. I love that. Well, why won't you let other people be your lifter? It's because you're pride. And a lot of our friendships, or lack of depth of friendship, is because you're too proud to be vulnerable. You're too proud to be real. And that's not the design of what God has for friendship.
Absolutely. Guys, don't let your pride keep you from having friends. Go say hey to somebody. Go invite somebody in the conversation, and be the friend that you'd like to have. I am loving going through the book and talking about this. It's been great to do. I'm so glad Luke had the idea of doing this. Thanks for asking the questions, Luke. Thanks, obviously, for bringing in so much value. Guys, we will talk to you next week. Be on lookout. Extra content coming Thursday. Make sure to download, share with your friends, tell your family. We'd love to be able to share this content with as many men as possible, to the glory of God, and so that you can continue growing into the man God made you to be. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Men After God podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes, and keep up with the show by following us at facebook.com/menaftergod. You can also reach out to Dustin personally at dustin@seekconsulting.us with any questions or for coaching on being a man after God. Until next time.